The Palestinian Islamist group Hamas has inaugurated a military-style summer camp in Gaza's Khan Yunis city on Tuesday. The 4-day camp hosted at least 80 people in the 16 to 18 years old age group. Hamas's military wing launched the camp just 2 months after Israel's aggression in the Gaza Strip. Every year, Hamas holds similar summer camps to train youngsters in martial arts and obstacle courses. The Islamist group seized control in Gaza in 2007, a year after sweeping a parliament vote. Hamas's move ended President Mahmoud Abbas's long-time political dominance of the Fatah movement. Since then, Hamas has been constantly involved in a conflict with Israel. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is expected to step down from his position today. The coalition government led by Sharif is set to dissolve after he steps down. The early dissolution will give the ruling coalition extra time for holding general elections that is scheduled later this year. The government has announced that assemblies will be dissolved 3 days ahead of its mandated period, after which elections are to be held within 90 days. The country will get an interim government after the dissolution. Prime Minister Sharif will inform President Arif Alvi about the dissolution in case of a delay. At least 20 people have been killed in the recent clashes between the Sudanese army and the rapid support forces in the country's greater capital area. Multiple areas across Sudan have been plagued by violence between the warring sides since mid-April. The fighting in Omdurman intensified on Tuesday after the clash. The RSF has besieged the Sudanese army's engineering headquarters for several days. The paramilitary force launched attacks with heavy artillery, tanks and weapons. The RSF claims at least 100 Sudanese soldiers were killed and 300 others were injured. As per the Sudanese Health Ministry, the public is called on to donate blood for the wounded as the only operational hospital in Omdurman is out of blood stocks. Italian authorities are carrying out transfer operations to relocate migrants from the overcrowded island of Lampedusa. This as rescue operations continue after at least 41 migrants died in a shipwreck in the central Mediterranean last week. A total of 45 people, including 3 children, were on board the ship that drowned. As per reports, only 4 survivors have been rescued till now. The boat set off from Tunisia, after which it capsized and sank in just a few hours. So far, Italy has witnessed over 93,000 migrant arrivals by sea in this year alone. The country has called on the rest of Europe to share the burden of growing migration crises in the Mediterranean. NASA has unveiled its Orion spacecraft for the Artemis II space mission at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The mission will take a crew of 4 astronauts to the moon and is scheduled to launch in November 2024. Artemis is the name of the Greek goddess of the moon. The United States has used this name for its mission to go back to the moon after a long gap. No human has set foot on the moon since 1972, and the Artemis mission intends to change that. No lunar landing is scheduled for this mission. Japan held a ceremony to mark the 78th anniversary of the Nagasaki atomic bombing on Wednesday. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida addressed the gathering via a video message. The Prime Minister said that Japan continues to make tireless efforts to realize a world free of nuclear weapons. He also reaffirmed the nation's commitment to the 3 non-nuclear principles. The ceremony was relocated indoors instead of the Nagasaki Peace Park due to concerns related to Typhoon Kanun. At least 45 people were injured in a blast that rocked an optical mechanical factory near Moscow. As per the emergency services, the blast occurred in a warehouse containing pyrotechnic equipment. Footage shows a huge column of smoke and high-rise buildings with windows blown out. The burnt-down factory produces optical equipment, and the Russian security forces are among its clients. However, emergency services are reported saying that they did not suspect a Ukrainian drone assault as the cause of the blast. At least 3 people died and several others were wounded in Donetsk after Russian shelling intensified on Tuesday. The Russia-installed mayor of Donetsk said that a bus stop, a hospital, a store and a residential area were hit in 4 city districts. 7 residents, including an 11-year-old boy, were wounded. The city of Donetsk has been under Russian control since 2014.
Все, хорошо. Давай.
The Pentagon has said that it is confident about sharing intelligence with Japan. The statement comes even as a U.S. report claims that Chinese military hackers gained access to Tokyo's most sensitive defense networks. Various unnamed current and former U.S. and Japan officials have said that the hackers secured access back in 2020. As per the same sources, the fishers also accessed information about Japan's military capabilities, plans and even shortcomings. Pentagon spokesperson Sabrina Singh declined to comment on the reports. Singh said that Tokyo will speak for its own intelligence and cyber capabilities.
Intelligence capabilities and cyber capabilities.
The U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Victoria Nuland made an unannounced visit to Niger late Monday. She was denied a meeting with junta's top leadership. However, she did meet some of the other military leaders. Nuland says she had difficult talks with the military. The US says that Nuland made it clear in her talks about the consequences the junta would face with regards to US assistance to the country if they refuse to restore democratic rule. US says it still holds hope for reversing the coup, but also was realistic after the failed talks. Thousands of Los Angeles city employees walked off their jobs for a 24-hour strike alleging unfair labor practices on Tuesday. The protesters include sanitation workers, engineers and traffic officers. Picket lines went up at Los Angeles International Airport and other locations. Worker unions said that more than 11,000 workers went on strike. The union also said its members voted to authorize the walkout because the city has failed to bargain in good faith. The mayor disputed the allegations of unfair labor practices and said that the city is ready to negotiate. Ohio voters have resoundingly rejected a Republican-backed referendum on Wednesday. The referendum would have made it more difficult for voters across the state to pass abortion protections. The vote sets up a fall campaign that will become the nation's latest referendum on the abortion rights. The referendum follows the U.S. Supreme Court overturning a nationwide right to abortion last year. The defeat of issue on the referendum now keeps in place a simple majority threshold for passing future changes to the Ohio Constitution instead of a 60% supermajority.
Or do we want to have it?
China launched a new satellite for disaster reduction on Wednesday. The satellite was launched from the Taiyuan Satellite Launch Center in Shaanxi province. A Long March 2C carrier rocket was used to launch the satellite. It entered the planned orbit post-launch. The launch was the 482nd mission by the Long March rocket series. Pope Francis has made an appeal for help following the natural disasters that have struck Slovenia and Georgia. He made the remarks to Italian-speaking pilgrims in the Vatican on Wednesday. The Pope also thanked those who
ai presidenti dei paesi della regione amazzonica che in questi giorni
The Pope also thanked those who offered assistance to the sufferers, especially mentioning the role of the volunteers. Over the weekend, Slovenia was struck by record-breaking rainfall. The flooding affected two-thirds of the European nation, killing at least 6 people while leaving over hundreds of others homeless.
ai presidenti dei paesi.
An ambitious project called WION is seeking to create a unique digital identification for everyone on the planet. The WION project is a biometric verification tool led by Sam Altman, who is also the CEO of OpenAI. Eager early adopters recently descended upon a Mexico City cafe on Tuesday, where their eyes were scanned by a futuristic sphere. Mexico is one of nearly 3 dozen countries where participants are following the sphere. Dubbed as an orb, the sphere is fitted with cameras to scan their iris. Two tornadoes touched down in Massachusetts within 30 minutes. Trees, utility poles and fences snapped from the ground due to high-intensity winds. The violent storms have caused thousands of power outages across the state. With no injuries recorded, the state has been put on a tornado warning. An aerial footage captured a wildfire burning on the Hawaiian island of Maui. The uncontrollable blazes were fueled by powerful winds from Hurricane Dora. As per reports, a high wind warning has been issued to many parts of the U.S. state, with gusts reaching over 105 kilometers per hour. Officials have said that the Coast Guard has deployed a helicopter and a boat to rescue a number of people from the water after they attempted to flee from the flames. There were multiple structures on fire in addition to extensive evacuations in the tropical state following the burning. Typhoon Khanun has grown closer to South Korea's peninsula, where it is forecasted to slam into major urban areas. Dozens of flights and ferry services have been grounded in the country, and thousands of fishing vessels have been evacuated to ports. This as the government braces up for potential damage from flooding, landslides and tidal waves triggered by Typhoon Khanun. Country's weather office has said that the typhoon can have punishing impacts, as it will likely slice through the center of the country over several hours. The estimated wind speeds are estimated to be 90 to 154 kilometers per hour. Let's talk business now on Speed News. Moody's has lowered credit ratings for multiple small to mid-sized U.S. banks, citing concerns about funding risks and declining profitability in the sector. The agency downgraded 10 banks and placed 6 major banking giants under review for possible downgrades. This comes as interest rates rise, remote work impacts office demand, and access to commercial real estate credit decreases. Moody's warnings imposed by banks' unrealized losses and tightening monetary conditions. Li Auto, a new car company from China, wants to sell more cars than famous brands like BMW, Mercedes-Benz and Audi in China by the year 2024. Li Auto started in 2015 and will launch a new electric car called Mega later this year. They think it will be the most popular car among those that cost more than $69,315 in China. In the second quarter, their income went up by 147% compared to the first quarter. China will require all mobile app providers in the country to file business details with the government. The Ministry of Industry and Information Technology said that apps without proper filings will be punished after the grace period, which would potentially restrict the number of apps and hit small developers hard. The requirement could affect the availability of popular social media apps such as X, Facebook and Instagram. Use of such apps are not allowed in China, but they can still be downloaded from app stores. Japan's Sony said first quarter profits tumbled due to weaker performances from its movies and financial businesses. In April to June, operating profits slid 31% to $1.8 billion in line with estimates. Profit at its movies division plunged by 2/3 due to lower sales for television content as well as higher marketing costs after the company released more films in theaters. In May, Sony said it is examining a partial spin-off of its financial unit, which includes life insurance and banking, as it looks to invest in its entertainment businesses. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.